Hey y'all, and welcome to the first of my June updates. I feel like I have a lot to say, but I might be able to do it concisely. That's a joke. When I was doing my postmortem for May, because we're starting the month with 316 books, I noticed that it's been 316 from April 1st, May 1st, and then June 1st. We were sitting at 316. And that was a little disappointing to me because I know progress has been made, but that means like the same amount of books were coming in as I was reading exactly. So that's kind of wild. I don't want to put any stipulations on June. I have book club. Like I know things are going to be, I actually have 2 book clubs this month. So I know things are going to be happening in bookstores around books, but I would like to get below that 316. And then something else happened this month that kind of already irritated me with myself. And that is that I finished a book and realized it was nowhere on my spreadsheet, not in my like written down physical TBR. It wasn't even part of the number. I have let things get a little too disorganized over the past couple of months, and I told myself it was fine, but it's clearly not. So I think maybe this weekend or next weekend, I'm going to have to do some kind of TBR inventory and reshuffle that whole shelf, which I've been trying to organize anyway. All that to say, I have finished 4 books. The number is only down by 3 because, like I said, one of them was not there. The first book I finished, though, and I am so happy to tell you about, is Tress of the Emerald Sea. I don't know why it took me so long to get into Brandon Sanderson. I don't know why it took me so long to read this book, but now I'm kind of hooked and I want to read everything else that I have by him immediately and then just keep going. This book is about a young woman who lives a sheltered life on an island surrounded by a sea of spores. There is not seas like we have that are made of water. They are made up of spores that can be very deadly when they interact with liquids. Tress is in love with the Duke's son, Charlie. He pretends to be a gardener. But you know, she obviously knows that he's the Duke's son. And when his father takes him away to try and find a wife for him, he ends up being kidnapped by this evil sorceress. And Tress makes the decision, because no one else is going to go save him, that she's going to be the one to save him. So that just catapults her into this world of adventures and pirates and seas of spores and super dangerous creatures. A very sweet little mouse, and just a cast of characters that's so unique and lovable at the same time, flawed, but still just very endearing characters overall. So I had given this 5 stars, I think. I absolutely loved it. I cannot stop thinking about it, and I wish that I could read it over again. I mean, I can, but I keep thinking I would like to go back into that world and have to remind myself that the book is over. Next, I finished Failing Up by Leslie Odom Jr., and this is a book that I picked up in River and Hill last year, and every time I see it, I'm like, oh, I should read that, and then other things happen. So I have finally read it. I don't want to say I do. I have in the past struggled with celebrity memoirs. There are a few that stand out that have been really wonderful, and other than that, I tend to think they're very self-indulgent and honestly kind of boring, just hearing someone talk about themselves and how great they are. This was very different. This almost felt like he was truly writing a book to us. Like he wants you to succeed. He believes in you and he thinks you should go after your dream, and he'll tell you how he did it for himself and that he believes the same in you, that same success lies within all of us. And I think the big difference between success and failure is when you decide to give up. In this, Leslie really focused on the importance of the journey and the people who help you along the way. It was overall very conversational and encouraging. I don't know if I'm going to rate it or not. I really haven't decided, but I very much enjoyed it. I think it's a great read. It's absolutely itsy bitsy. If you're a Hamilton fan, there's some good Hamilton stuff in there too. But it's a very quick read. Even you can see the pages. The writing is quite large. The margins are quite large. Like it's a quick read. It is not self-indulgent. It's not, hey, look at how great I am and how far I've come. He really is speaking to the reader, and I loved it. I mean, it makes me like him even more. Next up is a book that I've had for a little while, and it's the one that wasn't on my TBR, so I'm not sure how it missed so many sweeps, but it is Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. I really thought this was going to be a horror, but it seems like it's a fantasy, just like a really gory kind of graphic fantasy. I enjoyed it so, so much. This is about a monster called Shisheshin. And I feel like I'm saying that wrong, but I swear that's how it's spelled. And she is waking up from hibernation by monster hunters. Okay, these people are here to take her out. They believe that she has cursed their family, and she's just like the monster of this area. Does she eat people? Sure, who hasn't? But mostly she just wants to be left alone and maybe find someone that she can lay her egg sac in. God, that sounds really gross. I mean, it is very graphic and gory and gruesome, but at the same time, really fun and funny. She's very socially awkward. She meets the daughter of this family who is trying to monster hunt her, and basically insta-love, falls in love with her. So the transition from my girlfriend to my fiance to calling her mother-in-law, like, it progresses really quickly from absolutely nothing into their soulmates. And I thought that was very funny because of Shisheshin's social awkwardness. And at the end of the day, she doesn't have any supernatural powers. She just sort of wants to be left alone. She is a shapeshifter, so I don't think it's really like a magical type thing. It's just something she can do with what she consumes. So she is able to appear human in a lot of situations, but it's difficult for her. She really just wants to be left alone and like raise her brood of hatchlings. I would say around the middle, the pacing got a little weird for me, and I was kind of like, where are we going here? But you don't have that traditional ending where you think like, okay, everything's sort of settled, sorted. Okay, we've solved this problem from the plot. We get more, and I really liked that. I thought that was very sweet. You get a little slice of life at the end instead of just this huge peak in the plot and then, you know, everything is kind of over. You get a little bit more. I just really enjoyed this. I think I gave it 4.25 stars, 4.5 stars, something like that. It was highly rated for me. I had a great time. I think the cover is just also very interesting. It really draws you in. The bear trap, the chains, like she uses a chain to help give her a spine when she's in human form because her body is just sort of a gelatinous blob. Like, it's just, I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it. It's weird. It's kind of gross at times. Don't eat while you're reading it maybe, but otherwise I absolutely adored it. So one of the book clubs I'm going to is going to be for Fever Dream. It is at Sincerely Yours kind of mid-June. And that made me feel like, okay, I have time to read that book, but I do really want to read Gold Rush Ranch before that. So I have finished the first book, Off to the Races. This follows Billy Black, who is a horse trainer, as she moves into the Gold Rush Ranch training facility to train this really ill-tempered horse that has a lot of potential. She is met with the owner, Vaughn, and he's very gruff, grumpy, suspicious of her. Billy has a lot of success with this horse, and they're very well bonded. They're like soulmates. And as things progress with his career kind of taking off as a racehorse, Billy and Vaughn grow closer together, and it just kind of moves from there. We're introduced to what I think is going to be the cast of characters for at least the next 2 books, maybe the rest of the series. I'm not 100%. I have suspicion. So I think I've already started book 2. That suspicion was correct. We have Cole and we have Violet. Violet is sister of the Eaton boys from Chestnut Springs. That's how that connects. I really like her so far. So we have Violet, and then we have Vaughn's brother, Cole. And then I think we're going to have, I think Mira the vet is going to get some kind of story. And I feel like we're not done with Stefan, but I don't know if he's going to be a redemption type guy and be a main character, or if he's just going to be like a bad guy that keeps coming back. But I really loved this. I do think that this series is not the strongest, just based on the first book. It doesn't feel like the Elsie Silver of Chestnut Springs, which also doesn't exactly feel like the Elsie Silver of Rose Hill. Like, she really has come into her own. And I think at this point, around the end of Chestnut Springs and going into Rose Hill, she had figured out her voice, and she had the confidence in her writing style to say, like, this is me, this is how I write. And you can feel that through her books. I really do like the horse racing aspect of this. Haven't seen that before. I don't think in any of these sort of cowboy or Western style romances, but this just feels, this is a little different. This is a different world, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I don't remember what I gave it. 4.25? Maybe? That sounds right. That's kind of like my, I really enjoyed this, but it wasn't perfect score. Yeah, so I think that sounds right. Like I mentioned, I have already started photo finish. I did mention this with Off to the Races though. I did that strictly on audio. I'm probably going to do this one strictly on audio too. It's even smaller than Off to the Races, which I finished very quickly because I had the audio. And so this will probably be the same. I would like to finish these before obviously moving into Fever Dream. And then I also, like, I have some library books that I really want to read before they go back. I am getting a little overwhelmed right now with the amount of books available to me to read, like through the library, and then obviously just my absolute nightmare of a TBR. I'm trying not to let that get to me. I'm doing the audio for probably this whole series. I think maybe I will. I could be done before the end of the weekend if I do it that way. That takes away a little bit of the pressure. I think it would be nice to get under 310 total for the month. So let's go into it with that spirit and that attitude. And yeah, what did I say? 313 is the number right now. This will make it 312, and I hope I'll finish it today. But that's where we sit right now. Thank you for listening to me yammer on so much in this first one. I feel like the first one is always kind of like, but that's my own fault. I will see you for the next one. Bye. Hey y'all, and welcome to update number 2. I have several books to talk about, but I am going to keep it short this time, I promise. So first up is A Photo Finish by Elsie Silver. This is book 2 in the Gold Rush Ranch series. In this book, we have Violet Eaton and Cole Harding. Cole is Vaughn's brother from book 1. Violet is the jockey that Billy has taken under her wing and like given the opportunity to jockey at this higher level. The thing is, Violet and Cole actually already know each other from an online chat situation where they were friends, and then Violet kind of ghosted him. Their friendship relationship was never supposed to come to real life, but here they are in this situation. Cole is half owner in this Gold Rush Ranch racing horse situation where Violet is obviously tied up and employed. She also has an injury which forces her into Cole's abode, and there is some forced proximity. They work through a lot of issues, both individually and then with each other. And I was absolutely certain at the end of this that Cole was going to be my favorite male main character of the whole series, bar none. I was just in. I thought, it's not going to get better than this for me. I really, really loved him. He's also a veteran, so you have that. And I have in the past struggled with war scenarios or veteran characters, especially when there are like war flashbacks. That is a bother for me. This was good. It was good. It was just fine. I did not have any problems. I found Cole to be very endearing and heartbreaking at the same time, and I loved it. I gave this 4.5 stars. I really thought it was going to be the standout of the series for me, and it would be my favorite. However, I loved the front runner even better. And Stefan, I don't really know. He's my favorite, like bar none. This book follows the vet Mira, and I think I mentioned in my first update that I thought Mira and Stefan would get a book, but I didn't know if it would be together. Stefan has a bad reputation, but it's really all just prejudice because he moved to this very small area of town. He has an Eastern European accent, and he's a stranger. So people made things up about him, that he's a gangster, that he's connected to the mob, whatever. And I think because of that personality that he probably has, that sort of European dry humor of like going with it, he thought he was joking and people took him seriously. Anyway, I loved him. He becomes a very endearing character. This book tore me up though. So we also have the vet Mira, and Mira needs a favor from Stefan. Stefan has been asking her to go on a date with him. So he says, okay, I will do you this favor, but you have to go on 3 dates with me. And she's like, okay, fine. I really need the favor. And so that's how they sort of come into each other's orbit. Mira comes off as very aloof and unbothered, very like cool, even tempered, doesn't give anything away. And she really, we discover, is not like that. She's holding a lot in, and that is just her protection. Stefan, as I said, very misunderstood, very prejudiced character in their community, and he's also taking care of his younger sister. I found this to be very funny at points, but the end, the sort of like climax and the big oh crap moment was emotionally a little devastating for me. Like it took me a few days. I had to switch to horror because this was it was really good. I loved it. I gave it 4.75 stars. I loved it, but it was such a roller coaster of emotions for me. We still get a happily ever after, happy ending. Like that's not a spoiler. That's how these books go. That's what you can expect from them. But I was a little bit of a mess reading this, especially like those last, I think it was chapter 29 on. I really I hardcore remember that moment in time, like chapter 28, 29, something like that, where I just thought like, okay, here we go. And it was wilder than I could have expected. I loved it. I think I said that a million times. I loved it. It also chewed me up and spit me out a little bit, but I would highly recommend it. 4.75 stars. Stefan is the best. Like I said, I needed a little bit of a break from that, so I decided to pick up something itsy bitsy that's been on my TBR for at least a year. And horror. This is Woodworm by Layla Martinez, and it is a translation from Spanish, which I didn't realize, I don't think, when I bought it. I enjoyed this. It's very small. I think this was just, I read this in one sitting. It was just a couple, maybe like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. But I just sort of sat and absorbed it. And I love the cover. I love the scorpion and the praying mantis, the bird with the card. It's sort of like after you read it, all comes together. This is technically a book about a woman and her grandmother living in a cursed home with this sort of generational curse and generational poverty that haunts them, and the inciting incident that brings trouble and the police to their door. It is a very interesting look at perspectives, but also I feel like this is very much a book that is not really about what it's about. There's some not so subtle hints at elitism and how the elite treat people that they see as below them so much differently, and people who serve them in their homes are overlooked and even spoken about right in front of their faces. So I just think that this was a really interesting book. It was unsettling. It was creepy in parts. I wouldn't necessarily say this is my usual horror. I like something a little more shocking and a little more in your face, but this was unsettling and compelling. It did make you want to keep reading, and I was just intrigued by these women and the house and their history. I gave this 4 stars. And lastly, something I just finished this afternoon. It was an ALC, so I don't have a physical copy yet. It is coming out, I think, at the end of July. And it is Sea of Charms by Sarah Beth Durst. This is the 3rd book in the Spell Shop series. And oh my gosh, I just want to be in this world. I loved it. I devoured it. I tried to wait as long as I could to listen to it. Like I said, I don't think it comes out until July. I think it's the 28th. And I would normally wait until closer to publication. I know there's going to be a 4th book. I know it is about the magical cheese emporium that we see in this book, but I'm already itching to go back into the world. I was about 75% of the way through and didn't want to pick it back up because I did not want it to be over. Like, we were so close to the end and I didn't want it to be the end. So I think that should be a ringing endorsement of it. In this installment of the Spell Shop series, we are following this maritime supply runner, Marin, and she is a ship's captain. She's also like a solo ship's captain, and she is who actually delivered Terlu from the enchanted greenhouse in the previous book to the island where she ended up. So that's her kind of woven in there. And like I said, she's an independent woman. She is on a solo mission to pay off a debt to help her parents. And after this huge betrayal in Marin's life, she doesn't want to let anyone get close to her, and she doesn't want to get close to anyone until she finds herself with a full-on crew. After reuniting with Terlu and bringing some supplies to her island, she meets Ree, who is another one of our sentient plants, and he has a love for the sea. He just wants to go sailing. So he joins her crew. She reluctantly allows him to come with her. He's just a little plant. And then she also has Perry, who is a sea serpent that she rescued, and now he just sort of stays with her. So now she finds herself with a crew of 1 and kind of Perry. She arrives in Elysium mid-revolution, and things are going crazy. She rescues her friend Dax, who is a musician, and then like a lot of his friends, and takes them to safety. She's always had a bit of a crush on Dax, and after leaving their friends on a different island, he says he wants to join her and go sailing and help improve his craft through this adventure. So they spend a lot of time together. She now finds herself with this like full-on crew. He meets her parents. There's a little touch of fake dating and a whole lot of found family. What I like about these books is that there is always a good family base for at least one of our main characters. But then there is that person that they get to bring into the fold too. And then there's that family they build around themselves. It's very charming. I think the title is very apt, Sea of Charms. It's delightful storytelling, a wonderful world, so many cool creatures and characters, the foods even that are described, like everything is just a real delight to read about. and makes you want this place to really exist and want to be friends with these characters and meet these creatures. Marin is a character who is kind of expecting everyone to leave her. And while I find that to be a flaw, Sarah Beth Durst has yet to write a character that I find frustrating at any point. Like, yes, they have their problems, but there's never a point where I want to like throttle someone. There's always so much understanding behind why they feel this way, and then a lot of grace and understanding from the other characters, so you don't get a lot of that miscommunication or frustration. And I just find that to be very refreshing. I have not rated this book yet. Like I said, I just finished it and I need to write up like a thoughtful review of it for NetGalley, but I would highly recommend it. Like I said, it doesn't come out until July. And by the time you see this, that should just be a few short weeks away. So I would highly recommend picking up a copy if you can. Finishing Sea of Charms does bring me down to 309. I did do some book shopping from book club, and I think I picked up a couple of other things, but for right now, I'm not going to include those in. I haven't added them to my spreadsheet. I haven't added them to my notebook. So I'm just not, I don't want to give a number that's a wrong number. So I'm just going to leave it here for now. On the next check-in, I will add any new books that have come in or gone out as a new total number. Just right now, I'm not as organized. So we'll leave it there at 309 for this check-in. I will see you with more information in the next one. Bye. Welcome to update number 3. I think we're on 3. Yes. And there's a lot that's been going on. I have several books to talk about. I'll show you what I finished. I'll show you what is up next. And I did finally organize my physical TBR shelf that I've been trying to do for a while. It was not as bad as I thought it would be. There were some books that were not on the list, and then there were some books that needed to come off of the list that I had actually read and somehow were still on there. And then I did purge like maybe a handful of books. So let's talk about first what I finished, and that is the Unselected Journals of Emma N. Lyons. This is book 1 and book 2. They're very, very small. And I picked these up at Brown Dog Books a few weeks ago. I think I wanted a quick win with these because I was very frustrated with like Fever Dream hadn't been on my TBR. That John Wiswell book, Someone You Can Build a Nest In, wasn't on my TBR list. So I was a little frustrated and I was like, how can I knock out 2 books quickly? And so I picked these 2. I'm actually really glad that I did. I did not know what to expect with these. I thought they might be a little bit YA. But Emma is actually 20 years old. She has been off in the country helping a relative and as like a caretaker kind of and companion. And she's not been paid for this work. Her cousin, who manages the home that she is meant to inherit, said, we'll take care of that for you and we'll save it. And when you come back to London, you'll have a nice sum to get started with. But really what happens when Emma moves back to the home she's meant to inherit, she finds out that the house funds have really been spent and they might not make it another year. So she immediately jumps into action with a plan to save her home, the only thing she really has left. She reconnects with her Aunt Eugenia and cousin that currently live in London. She has friends from school that live in London. She has old acquaintances that pop up. They take on a tenant to try and generate some income for the home, and he's kind of a mystery that gets unwrapped throughout mostly book 2. It's just very interesting. It's low stakes, but interesting enough to keep you wanting to read to see what's going to happen next and how Emma is going to overcome these sort of seemingly insurmountable problems that are not of her own making. And I've really enjoyed them. They're very tiny. They're not anything groundbreaking, but I think the writing is quite nice. It's kind of like Bridgerton meets something of a Jane Austen feel. They're quite funny moments. We do know that Emma is grieving, but we don't have all the details. That's also slowly being unraveled to us. And I think the type of books they are and the way they're written just lend the air of like, you want to keep going, that one more chapter or let's start the next book type feeling. And these do kind of just end. There's no cliffhanger or anything too intense, but they do just sort of end. They're all journal entries. So I really enjoyed them. I gave them both 4 stars. I think for what they are, they're so well done, and I just want to read more of them. So I'm planning to go at some point this week back to the Brown Dog to see if I can get the rest of these. I believe there's 8 out right now, and the author continues to just keep going. I'm not sure for how long. I would love it if there were like 20 of these. So yeah, I really just want to continue reading the series, and I thought these were really fun. The next book I finished is the final book in the Gold Rush Ranch series, and it is A False Start by Elsie Silver. I enjoyed this. I think I gave it 4.25 stars. This book is a lot about timing. So we have Nadia Delka, who is Stefan's sister. She is 19 when we meet her. And then we have his best friend Griffin, who I believe is like 33 when they first meet. And they don't know who each other is at all to one another, but there is an encounter. They share a kiss, and then Nadia learns who he is. They stay apart for quite a while and then are kind of forced back together and build a deeper connection as they try and navigate the forbidden nature of like her being so much younger than him. I think it's a 14-year difference, which it's kind of a lot for me. It's kind of a lot for me. And Elsie has done this before in books. And sometimes it's just too far a stretch. I don't think it was particularly bad in this one because I do think these two meet each other where they are emotionally and honestly in maturity. It's just like on paper that 14 years feels a little awkward for me. I did really like the story. These are two characters that have a lot of darkness about them, and I appreciated the realness of that. We get even more of the horse stuff here, which I absolutely love. I was not expecting to like this series as much as I did. I think because most people talk about this being the weakest of her series, not to say that it's bad, not to say that they don't enjoy it, but this is the weakest of the 3 series currently out. And I don't know if I agree with that. I think this and Chestnut Springs are kind of neck and neck for me. And the farther you get into the series, the more you feel Elsie come into her own, and the more you feel that it's her. Like you get a lot of that in this book. There's a lot of angst. Like I said, there's a lot of darkness, demons. There's a lot that both of these people are working out, both together and individually. And there is, again, it's a lot about timing. There's a lot of missed opportunity in this book, and then coming together and moving apart, and coming together and moving apart. So in the end, I enjoyed it. I think I only gave it 4.25 stars. And I say only because I think most of her books for me are like 4.5 or 4.75, somewhere in there. I think Wild Side was a 5-star for me. I did really, really love that one, but it was very good. It was emotionally very dense for me. There was a lot of trauma for both parties to work through. I really enjoyed the epilogue and how we got to see everybody across the board from all of the books in this series all together in this big like family environment. It was very, very sweet. Good to see. And then there is also, I think, is it a bonus epilogue or a bonus chapter? Which was really quite nice. It's Vaughn and Billy's wedding. That was really spectacular. So I think, again, this is a really great way to end a series. The book was good. Just be prepared, maybe with some tissues or maybe with like something light and bright to come after it, because this deals with some heavy topics. I did not pick something light and bright to come after it. I thought I had, but I was a bit mistaken. And I did finish The Lost by Sarah Beth Durst. After I finished Sea of Charms, I just felt like I needed to be back in a Sarah Beth Durst world. This is an interesting find though, and I have since learned a lot more about it than I knew going in, than I knew even at the midway point of reading it. So this book is essentially about a place that exists where lost things go, including people. But think lost luggage, keys, a penny down, the crack of your couch cushions, the French fries in your kid's car seat, like those types of things. All the things that go lost or go missing end up in Lost. And that is what happens to Lauren. She is on her way to work one day. She's trying to avoid the inevitable news that her mother's cancer has returned. And instead of turning left at a light, she just keeps going straight. And she finds herself in Lost. Seeking help from the missing man who she's heard can return her back home, she actually finds pure avoidance, and the missing man just leaves. This turns everyone in the town against her, thinking that she has sent him away, and so all hope for them to return home is gone. These people cannot leave until they find what they have lost. And again, same goes for Lauren. She finds 2 allies, one in the finder who's called Peter, and one in a little girl who's a little bit feral but mostly sweet. And they build a little bit of a life together until she can figure out how to get back home. She and Peter form a very close bond. a love type relationship, and then Claire to her feels like a little sister. This again is another book kind of about timing and when it's right and when it's wrong. It is also about grief and trying to run away from the inevitable, and I appreciated that. I do have some hangups, however, in that the concept is great, the story was good, the characters were good. This originally, I believe, was meant to be a trilogy of the lost, the missing, and then the found. And before this was originally published in 2014, I believe Sarah Beth Durst was on the final draft of the found. Like, she had completed the trilogy. But for some reason, the publisher she had at the time didn't go through with the trilogy. So it was published in 2014, and then last year in 2025, it was re-released with Mira, I think, publishing, and they didn't want a trilogy, so we just get one book, is my understanding. So the ending had to be changed. And I think because of the nature of this being a trilogy from inception, like that was Sarah Beth Durst's intention, was to have this be a trilogy, that there are some questions that go unanswered that maybe would have been answered in future books, or characters being fleshed out that I have so many questions about Peter, but I don't know that we'll ever know them because there were no additional books. And I think that that is a real tragedy in this concept because it was full of potential, absolutely brimming with potential, but if you look a little too closely, it starts to crumble. There are some inconsistencies. There are so many unanswered questions. And if that's on purpose, I wouldn't mind it. But this got a rewrite. I think some things could have been cleared up, and we just don't get that. It feels a bit unfinished. It's such a shame to me because, like I said, I really think this could have been an absolute favorite of mine. I haven't rated it or reviewed it yet. I will probably give a spoilery review on Fable and Market, but I think right now this is sitting somewhere between like 3.5 and 3.75. I would recommend it, but I would go into it with the knowledge of this is not what it was supposed to be. This is a little bit of arrested development as far as the potential that it could have had as a series. So I finished 4 books, and that would bring me down to 305, but I told you last time that I had not input new books that had come in. I had not organized the shelf. There were things missing from my list, and I really needed to take a long, hard look at that. So that does bring us back up to 311 with the new purchases, with some that have left, and I'm pretty pleased with that number. As far as what's up next, I plan to complete Fever Dream. After that, I would like to complete the Library of Borrowed Hearts. This is one from my spring TBR, and I would like to complete it before the end of the week. Summer, the first day of summer officially is June 21st, which is this Sunday. So I think I have plenty of time to finish this as well. And finally, I hope I can finish this by Sunday. This is Tourist Season by Brynne Weaver. It was also on my spring TBR. And if I can finish these 2, that would only leave 3 unfinished books. I didn't get to The Names, The Messy Lives of Book People, and Story of My Life. Those would be the 3 remaining. And I would really like to read this because I also have book 2. I'm afraid that book 2 is going to also end on a cliffhanger, but I cannot wait for book 3. I have to get into this series now. So that's where we sit right now. Kind of a big update today. I will see you for the next one. Bye. Hey y'all, welcome to update number 4. I have 3 more books to show you, and June is just ticking on by. We are flying through the month, and I have to thank audiobooks for helping me get so many books completed this month so far. 2 of these I'm going to talk about today were actually audiobook finishes, and I could not have read them so quickly without it. I just have not had the time to sit with books as much lately. So first up is Lucky Shot by Rebecca Jenshak, and this is a very new acquisition. I just got this a couple of weeks ago, but something was really calling me to it, and I'm really glad that I read it. I loved this. This is my first Rebecca Jenshak, and I had that feeling when I started it that this is very much a wider world. I have stepped into an Elsie Silver style wider world, and so now I need to go back and figure out who all of these people are. And I know they have books. Like, I know especially her sister definitely has a book, but this book is centering Ruby and Nick. Ruby is a romance author, and she's coming off a bit of a fail from her last book. It was a little bit of a flop, and a publisher has reached out to her about a new book. She's thinking it's a new book, but it's actually one of her old books that she wrote, and nobody optioned it, I guess. Nobody wanted it. This publisher wants it, but instead of a baseball romance, she would like Ruby to switch it to a hockey romance. Ruby doesn't know anything about hockey, but her agent says, don't worry about it. I will help you out. She gets hooked up with Nick, unbeknownst to Nick. Nick is a hockey player. He is coming off of an injury, so he's a little tender, and he's not expecting Ruby to be living in his guest cottage that is actually supposed to be for his dad. So his dad lives with him. He's a single father, and the dad is actually the one who set all of this up. Nick ends up feeling a bit sorry for Ruby and does let her stay with them, and then she ends up spending kind of the summer there as naturally intended. They grow closer. He's very grouchy, but he gets less grouchy, and he turns around pretty quickly, which is, it was good for me. I had read some heavier stuff, and I feel like I needed something easy and light and just like feel good, I guess, for lack of a better word. So this was that. It was so much fun. There's so many hockey players that are teammates with Nick. This is book 1 in a new series. And there's all these other hockey players that we get introduced to. Book 2 is coming out on July 1st. I have pre-ordered it. And then another one is coming in September. So I see this being a great big wider series. There's at least 5 books that we know of that are going to happen in this series. And that excites me very much. I very, very much enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. Next, and probably no surprise, is I finished Fever Dream by Elsie Silver. This is book 1 in a new series. Again, this is the Emerald Lake series. So this is her 4th series that we are moving into. And traditionally, historically, first books in series are not usually my favorite, especially when it comes to Elsie's series. They usually, I'm a book 2, book 3 girl. And this was a total surprise for me. This features Theo's younger sister, Julia, and then Emmett from all the way back in book 1 of Chestnut Springs. I can't remember what it's called. Heartless, Reckless, Powerless. Like they all get jumbled for me. So book 1 of Chestnut Springs, Emmett, who is a bull rider, and then Theo's sister, Julia. Theo's also a bull rider. He and Emmett are kind of, I don't want to say enemies, but they are rivals, and there's some animosity there. Emmett needs money for his family farm. He wants to help support his Oma and Opa as they're struggling on this family horse breeding farm. He is approached about doing a reality dating show and immediately says no until they tell him the 6-figure paycheck that will come with it. And then he's in. He just sees being able to help his family. The other thing is they want to do this on the family farm. So in addition to him getting paid for it, the family farm will also get a daily rental payment so that they can film on the property. Julia is the location consultant, and she's really lucked out on this job. She's just out of college, and she thinks that she has hit the jackpot with this one. The producer of the show is a big, creepy bleh. And then these two realize the connection pretty quickly because Emmett knows Julia from Theo, but also they had an encounter a couple of years before the events in this book that gave them a little bit of a connection. There was no physicality. They didn't kiss or anything like that, but they had a moment where Emmett really stepped in to help out Julia. So she doesn't see him as the monster that other people do, or the playboy, or like the jerk that other people see him as. As production rolls on this reality dating show where Emmett is the bachelor, they get closer and closer. Emmett has no interest in the women on the show, and there's not a lot of angst. There's not a lot of miscommunication or heartache or yearning. It is a sweet and gentle and healing, honestly, type of love between the two of them. I really enjoyed the family vibes. Like, I'm already plotting out. And I think Elsie has confirmed that one of the sisters and her professor are going to be book 2. That was very apparent. She is not queen of subtlety, okay? But like, that was very apparent. And I think his other siblings will also come into play. He does have a brother, and he has another sister. I can't remember if Evan has any attachment though. But anyway, I have a feeling we're going to see these siblings many times over, at least for sure Parker in book 2, and then more as we move throughout the series. I really enjoyed it. I actually gave this one 5 stars. This was exactly what I needed when I needed it. I was a little hesitant about the reality show aspect of it. I'm not a reality TV person, but it seemed almost peripheral. It was the plot device that got these two together and in this area, but it was not what I didn't want it to be, which is great. Oh, I also listened mostly to this one, and the female narrator, this is like her first book, amazing. I think she did an incredible job. And then Teddy Hamilton is our male narrator. I really enjoyed him as well, as usual. And I think Aaron Mallon, who I love, and adore as a narrator. Erin Mallon did some of the other voice work for other women. And finally, I finished The Library of Borrowed Hearts by Lucy Gilmore. This was on my spring TBR, and I was able to get the audio from the library, so I was able to finish it like last night into this morning with the audio. I started just reading it, and then with tourist season kind of in the back of my mind, I thought I might need to be able to read this while I'm doing laundry, while I'm doing dishes, while I'm driving, whatever. So I did switch to audio. I really enjoyed this as well. At first, I wasn't sure how deep it would go, but it actually did hit a nerve, and it was emotional and heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. It was hopeful and also deeply, deeply sad, but in a way that makes you happy for the characters once they are able to overcome certain things. And I found it to be a really sweet and enjoyable read. I think I might take this over to my mom to see if she wants to read it, because I think it might be something she would enjoy. There is some romance, there is some heartbreak, like I said, but at the end of the day, this is about a woman who is raising her 3 younger siblings after her mother abandons them all, while Chloe, who is the eldest, is away at college, forcing her to come home and take care of the kids, stopping her library degree in its tracks. So she's working not in a full librarian capacity, but she is working at the library and just really struggling to make ends meet and take care of these sort of rambunctious and oddball assortment of 3 younger siblings. They also have a very gruff and grouchy elderly neighbor who like collects their frisbees when they make their way into his yard. He refuses to give them back. He's just very much a curmudgeon. And one day, while Chloe is working in the library cleaning out the basement, she finds a book. It's a rare book, and she thinks maybe she can sell it and make some money since the library is getting rid of it anyway. But then in the margins, she finds these notes, and she starts to discover that these notes are back and forth between 2 individuals. While going to rescue one of the aforementioned frisbees that ended up in Jasper, who's the elderly neighbor's yard, she speaks with him. This brings into his knowledge her finding that book. He now knows that she has this book and he would like it. He offers to pay Chloe for the book. She says, fine, okay, whatever, and then slowly starts to put together from the handwriting on the check he gives her to the handwriting in the book that he is one of the people writing these notes. And what unfolds is a love story through all of these books shared by Jasper and Catherine when they were young in the 60s. This sets Chloe and her new love interest off into like a scavenger hunt style search for these books, more of the books that they read, to find their notes to see what happened. And we have a mix of perspectives from all the different characters, like between Chloe, the man she's dating, her youngest sibling, and then even Jasper, the neighbor, and Catherine, the young woman. And then we also have time jumps. So we're in present day and then we're going back to the 60s. It was really great. I haven't rated it yet. I haven't reviewed it yet. I just finished it this morning. I thought the audio was great. We get lots of different narrators for all the different people, for all the different POVs. It's not duet style or full cast, but each section has its own narrator, and that was great. I think this would sit around maybe 4.5 stars for me. I did enjoy it. There were a couple of hangups, but I don't want to be spoilery, but there were like a couple of hangups that didn't get it all the way to 5. But I think this was really enjoyable, really interesting, and the type of book that gets you invested in learning what really happened. Like you're really in it with the characters trying to figure out what happened. And I think that always makes for a good time. Finishing those 3 books, and then with my one pre-order that I mentioned of that Rebecca Jenshak, I am sitting at 309 today. I would like to read tourist season before the end of the week and then move into harvest season soon after. So I'm just feeling really good about the progress so far this month. I have not bought any books since the last update except for that pre-order. So we've been moving along pretty well. Bye. Hello, welcome to update number 5. This will be the 5th and final update, I think, before my actual final update, the penultimate update, if you will. I have 3 books to talk about. I have bought books. There's like a little stack of them back there. We don't mind that. But we're still coming in under where we started, so I'm feeling really good about it. The first book that I did finish since last time was Tourist Season. And this is, if you're not familiar with the author, Brynne Weaver writes really, really dark rom-coms. And the main characters in all of the books of hers that I've read have been serial killers. And you know, they happen to fall in love with each other. Think more Dexter style. There is some sort of morality, however misguided, behind what these characters do. It's not as dark as it may sound. There is some method to their madness. So the two characters in here are Nolan and Harper. Nolan has actually come to Cape Carnage to kill Harper. Harper is hiding from herself, from her old life, and she works as a gardener for this very affluent man in the town. And the two end up having to come together to kind of fight against an outside power that has entered the town and could disturb all of their secrets, Nolan's included. It was a really good time. I had heard so much about the cliffhanger at the end and how people were devastated to not have that next book in their hand. I saw the ending coming, not every moment, but I saw what I think was probably the big reveal coming. So I didn't feel that way when it ended. However, I had book 2 locked and loaded, ready to go. So I also had that. But like I said, I did know who was who, if that makes sense. I didn't have that gut-wrenching feeling like I had seen so many people talk about. However, I did finish book 2 as well. But in between them, I finished The Tusks of Extinction by Naylor. This is one that I picked up at our local Barnes & Noble that is closing in a couple of months. I picked this up for 40% off. Never heard of it. I thought it looked really cool. And it's a bit of a dystopian sci-fi about how humankind has decimated the elephant population on Earth. And in an effort to bring back some sort of sustainability, the mammoths have been cloned and brought back to life. They do not know how to be mammoths though, so they keep dying. Enter this scientist, activist, conservationist doctor who was murdered while protecting elephants in Africa. They bring back her consciousness and put it into a matriarch of these mammoths that they brought back. And she teaches them how to be mammoths and how to survive. It's very interesting. It's obviously a not so subtle look at the ivory trade and greed and poachers and mass extinction. So I just thought it was very interesting, a really good, captivating book. It kept my interest the whole way through. I sat and read it in one sitting. I thought the multiple POVs was also very interesting. We're moving around a lot of characters, and I do think that added to the overall effect of the storytelling. It's very tiny. I think this is just a novella, and kind of this common theme I've been seeing lately of what people are willing to accept or what people are willing to tell themselves is okay in the name of XYZ, science, survival, money, whatever. So I overall very much enjoyed it. I think I gave this 4 stars, and now I kind of want to check out more Naylor. And I finished Harvest Season. I was in the chair at the hair salon last night with a page and a half to go, and she's like, okay, it's time to wash your hair. And I about fell out of my chair. I just wanted to finish it. Now, this one gave me that devastating ending. We are back with Nolan. We are back with Harper. Cape Carnage has its Cape Carnage-ness about it. So many things are happening. We have these armchair detectives, investigators running throughout the town, again, threatening Nolan's secrets and Harper's secrets and Arthur's secrets and just everybody's secrets. There's a lot at stake here. There's a lot of good times. There's a lot of funny times. Again, very dark. These are also pretty spicy books as far as that rating goes. There is some very adult content. So if that's not for you, I would skip it. If gore is not your bag, I would also skip it. I tend to find them, while sometimes outrageous and a little shocking, also very funny and somehow relatable and lighthearted at the same time. So I definitely enjoy these books. This is a series that builds, unlike her other series that have different characters, more interconnected standalone style. While the timeline builds, the characters are different. In these, we're building a timeline, but also with the same characters throughout. So it's very important that they're read in order. Now, I am bereft. I had to wait until I got home to finish that last page and a half. And I just really didn't know what to do with myself. And Elad said, pick your next book. And I was like, well, obviously, but not yet. I need to sit with this for the whole night. And I need to know what's going to happen. I need to know where we go from here. I know Brynne Weaver will do a sensational job of wrapping up this trilogy, but I need to know right now. There's also like a cat and mouse style game here. We know kind of what's going on, but the characters don't all know. And It's this weird, unsettling, sinister, insidious, somebody's been in your house, but nothing's been taken. Things have been like slightly adjusted. It's just unsettling and odd, and also really funny at the same time. So I would highly recommend this series if you can handle some of those darker, grittier, spicier, more adult moments. These are so much fun. I really enjoy her books. I really enjoy her writing. I like how she builds on a mystery. I gave that book a 4.75 as well, I believe. Now, like I said, I have bought some books in the past week. It was all one trip. It was all one Barnes & Noble. I could not find the M.M. Lyons books because Brown Dog was closed when I went, and nobody told me. So I couldn't go there, but I did head to my next local Barnes & Noble. I saw Fran. I bought 7 books. I did also end up purging a couple of books this month. I don't think I've shown that. It's not really a big deal. But my new total for today is going to be 311, which I think is really good. I think that's still really great pacing. We read 3, got rid of a couple, brought in a few more, and still pacing under 316, which is honestly, I'm happy with that. I don't have any plans to buy anything. I don't even think I have any more pre-orders coming this month. I had 1 or 2 and that was kind of it. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. I don't expect any new books to come in to the ecosystem for now. So 311, feeling really good. I will see you for the final update. June has just flown by and it has been such a successful reading month for me. See you for the next one. Hey y'all, here we are with my final June update. It is June 30th, and I did not expect to eke out as many books as I did. It's been about, I think like a week and a half since I did my last update, so I do have 4 books to talk about, and because it's been a little while, I have some notes, and I might look at those occasionally to clarify some of my thoughts. First up, I finished A Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. This is a very long name, and I keep getting caught up with it. This is about a man who seems to be from a not so distant future and finds himself in medieval England with no idea how or why he's there, and also he doesn't know who he is. He soon realizes that there are other people there from his time that he'd really rather not run into, and his only guide for survival is this exploded handbook that came along with him and some of the locals he meets. I can't quite put my finger on it, but something is just different about this one than the other Sanderson I read. And there's only been one, and it was very recent. And it was Tress of the Emerald Sea. But still, this is like more sci-fi leaning than heavy fantasy and just different. We also have a male main character. Tress of the Emerald Sea was a female main character. He's a little whiny, but I did love his companions. My only real qualm besides him, John, the main character, being a bit of a whiner, is that the ending felt a little rushed, but overall I did really enjoy it and I gave it 4 stars. The next book I finished is a children's book, and it is The Wind in the Willows. I'm laughing because I never really knew about this book. I didn't read it as a kid, but when we were at book club last time, I was looking for the Anne of Green Gables books, and I was really frustrated that they were in the children's books. So anyway, a few of us were over there, and Andrea had recommended this book. She said she really loved it, and by the cover, I thought, like, wow, it looks really cute and sweet, and anthropomorphized animals are totally my bag. This is very different than what I expected, and keep in mind, this is from, like, 1908. I did have to keep reminding myself of that, but it's just a children's classic about Mole, Ratty, Badger, and the very impulsive and honestly kind of like dangerous menace that is Mr. Toad. It was odd and interesting and very whimsical. The animals shared a lot of adventures. I did think that the pacing left something to be desired, but then I did read that these were tales he originally told his son for bedtime, and I thought, okay, that makes a little more sense. While this book is very much of its time in language, I do think that the lessons of morality and friendship and loyalty overall are still very relevant. It was fun and funny, and I do think that stories like this paved the way for things like Shady Hollow with these cozy anthropomorphized animals living in harmony, well, somewhat harmony if you don't include Mr. Toad, out in the wilderness, and that mix of rural old ways meeting sort of city life and industry. I think I gave this 4.25 stars, but it's fun. If you haven't read it, like, it's just silly and fun. Death Meets Cute was highly anticipated for me. It did just come out this year, and I really thought it was going to be my last book of the month. I love the cover. I'm just obsessed. We have our little hedgehog here as well, the skulls, all the plants. I was so excited for this. And the whole premise is that we have Iris Wayward, who really wants to be a bad guy. She wants to be a villain. After leaving her sisters to kind of strike out on her own and build that villain reputation, she moves to the town of Fraywell. but she is short a bodyguard when hers kind of ghosts her. Iris can't really believe her luck when a big brooding orc falls over dead in her yard, so she decides to bring him in and reanimate him. Unfortunately for her, Talon is a much nicer orc than she thought he would be. He likes to bake, he likes to tidy up around the house, and he really likes to socialize with the greater community, which for Iris is a big no-no. I thought it was very cute how she tries to teach him to be evil and how kind of resistant he is to that, but not outwardly. It's just sort of something inside of him. He just can't be evil. When the sisters' magic starts to wane, Iris's two sisters do come to her cottage and they kind of fall in love with Talon as well, especially the delicious pastries that he bakes. And so you have this greater story of the sisters and their kind of magic issues, but then this relationship growing between Iris and Talon. And then you have the community, like the wider community of the people who live in Frugal. And I think there's a lot of growth here, especially with Iris and her misconceptions, not only about the community and then sort of society and people at large and her wanting to be a villain, but also her misconceptions about herself and the person that she is supposed to be, or the person that she has always thought she needed to be, which somehow turned into her thinking she wanted to be evil, if that makes sense. So I just really like when characters have a bit of introspection, self-reflection, and then growth on top of it. It was also a very cute and sweet little romance. I'm kind of hoping that the other sisters get their books. They do have familiars. The familiars felt a little lacking. I could have done with something better from the familiars, but I'm a sucker for a crow, and one of her sisters does have a crow familiar. So again, I just kind of hope that they get their own stories, and I know this author likes to write a series, so I am keeping my fingers crossed for that. I gave this 4.25 stars, I believe. And the book I did not expect to start or finish this month. I started it last night. I finished it today. It is Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. I've been wanting to read this obviously since I bought it, and it just sort of kept getting shuffled around and never quite making the lineup. Last night I took the plunge, maybe yesterday afternoon, sometime after work, I think, and I just felt like now is the time. I also looked at it and I thought, with pages like this, I mean, you're really only half a page. The font is gigantic, in my opinion. I really felt like it was doable, so I didn't force myself, I didn't rush, but I have to say, this was insanely compelling. I just wanted to keep reading. And the way Grady takes this story from kind of dry humor and a little bit of camp even to absolutely bone-chilling, grotesque body horror and like that sense of unease and just get me out of here. He did it over the course of what felt like inside of one chapter. It was so subtle, and before you knew it, you were already hooked in to this really like devilish and sinister plot. This is, of course, about Orsk, which is supposed to be like an IKEA knockoff in Ohio. And something is going on at Orsk. There are weird happenings overnight. So when the morning crew comes in, they're discovering things that were not there when the night crew did their final checks the evening before. The ever-dedicated manager, I think Basil, it's spelled Basil, but you know, like in Austin Powers, like Basil, I think it's Basil. Basil decides to step in and ask a few employees to stay overnight. Everything starts to go haywire. Things are fine until they discover that other employees have decided to stay the night for their own reasons. And then around 2 a.m., things just start to descend into absolute madness, chaos, and pure horror. I thought it was so fun. I think that the idea of this looking and feeling very much like a catalog brings to you that immersive experience. There's also in here, I was showing my husband last night because I just thought it was so interesting. There is the IKEA style map in the front of the book. And then obviously like this, it just sort of looks like IKEA, right? It has the like sort of how to and about them assembling the flat pack furniture. There's even an order form in the front of the book. And of course, at the end, Grady Hendrix himself has given himself an employee ID at Orsk. I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was going to just be kind of campy and just be kind of silly based on what I'd heard from other people I know that have read it. I was a little surprised at how chilling it got. I loved the ending. If he decided to do a follow-up, I think that would be amazing. If he doesn't, I like the idea that I came up with in my own mind about how this could have proceeded. I just thought it was really fun, a really good time. I couldn't put it down, and it's so short. What a fun departure into like a little summer horror. And I don't know if I'm gonna be the same the next time I go to IKEA. I gave this one 4.5 stars, I believe. As you could probably tell, there's been huge progress this month, and I just realized that actually every single book I read in the month of June was a physical TBR book. So we made such good progress. For 3 months, April, May, and June, I started out with 316 books on the physical TBR. And so for the first time in a long time, I am going into a new month with under 316 books. I will start July with 307 books, inching insanely close to getting under that 300 mark. I don't know what July is gonna bring. I am very committed to finishing Daggerbound as being my next book. I had been thinking about slowing down just because I feel like people often judge if you read too much, if you don't read enough, what kind of books you're reading. And I think I had gotten in my head a little bit that like, wow, am I reading too many books? Am I really enjoying these books to their full potential? Am I remembering details about them? Am I getting the most out of them? Or am I just in a rat race to try and read as many books as possible? And honestly, when I think about it myself, I just truly enjoy reading. I truly enjoy diving from story to story. And if I need to take time off to process a certain book, I do. I'm very comfortable with that. I'm not someone that's ever really suffered with a reading slump. I'm always excited to jump into the next thing. It's more about deciding what that next thing is going to be because I have so many options. And I think for now, I'm just going to embrace the pace that I've had or whatever comes next and not think too much about how much I'm reading or what I'm reading or what anyone else might think about that. So like I said, for the first time in a long time, I'm under 316, which means I can give you a percentage difference from the beginning of the month to the end of the month, and I have read just over 2.75% of my physical TBR. We are making progress, things are changing again, and I feel so good about it. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, which is hectic because I do think it's going to be quite a long one, would you leave me a teeny tiny little sunflower emoji or something in the comments? I really do love comments, and I really do appreciate it if you made it this far. So I would love to say hi to you in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. I hope you have a beautiful July. I hope you read all the books and that you get outside and you have some kind of adventure. Thank you again. Bye.